What's up, HVAC millionaires? So today, we are talking about the three C's of delegation. If you've ever felt like you cannot step away from your HVAC business without everything falling apart, then this episode is for you. Without delegation, there is no scale. Hear what I just said there. Without delegation, there is no scale. So I've got the famous HVAC millionaire here with me
I've
today,
got the
as
famous
always.
Coach Natalia with me today.
Woo, woo. Okay, so we're just gonna dive right into it. So tell me, Kelly, what's your idea around delegation?
Eventually, if you provide a great service, there's no question your business is going to grow. It naturally will grow. This is just a natural, organic process that happens. And when that happens, your responsibilities increase. And as your responsibilities increase, there's more and more things that have to be done throughout the day. And eventually, we run out of time to get those things done. So without delegation, the business will become stalled or stuck. And it can't go anywhere until we learn to begin to delegate. Some of that delegation comes from outsourcing, meaning that we use other people and services outside of our business that aren't directly employees of ours. But sooner or later, you're going to need employees, and you're going to have to be able to have the capacity, the ability to delegate effectively for your business to be able to scale and grow.
Yeah, and you said something there is if for me is sooner is way better. So
Yeah,
the sooner that you can get this figured out, this delegation part, the better off the business will be and the faster you can just get growing.
yeah. Imagine if you opened a restaurant and you got your first customer. They walk through the door and you run up there and oh, is there only two joining us today? Okay. And you take them to their seat, right? And then you run back behind the bar to get some water for them and give them their menus, of course. You give them a few minutes and then you go and take their order and you start running to the back to start making their order because you're doing everything. But then another customer walks through the door. Now you got to stop what you're doing, go play the host, seat the next people, give them menus, get them water, take their order, and all of a sudden you find that there's just not enough time and you cannot provide a great service anymore. So people are waiting extra long times for their food. Maybe you've sped through cooking some of their food, so sometimes it's not always the greatest. So you're just the customer experience dwindles
Mm-hmm.
as the need to delegate increases. So I
Yeah.
always think of that when I think of HVAC business owners who grow their business, and there's constantly more things. Even if you've gotten to the point where you have a small team, there's still a lot of things that are on your plate that could be delegated to give you more freedom, to quite possibly earn you more money, or just to give you more peace, like just peace in your life, to not have
Yeah.
all of this responsibility that's solely on your shoulders because you have been very ineffective at the delegation portion of this.
The way I see this, right, again, back to without delegation, there is no scale, right? So when you are wearing all the hats, people talk about, I wear this hat and I wear that hat and I wear this hat. And I mean, business owners across America and beyond, still do this. So when you look at what are you doing in the business currently in order to release the role? First, you have to define the role, which really brings us to the first C that we're talking about today, which is clarity. So how do you release a role effectively, right? Turn it over to the next person. So, do you want to talk about a little bit about that, about the clarity part? When we are delegating, the first step is clarity.
So when it comes to clarity, we need to define the role. What exactly is it? What's required of it? So why is it necessary? And then how? The actual steps. How is this role performed? So once you know all of those things, it's, I know we've talked about this with our clients when it comes to even hiring. Like you're hiring for a specific position, you'll be a better judge of who fits the role of that position if you've defined that role. So you're increasing your chances of finding the right person tenfold just by knowing what's required of the role. So it's that important. That has to be done or you're in trouble, right? So the what, the why, and the how. If you don't know those things, then you're not clear about what's necessary for this position. So many people just hire somebody and they just say, there you go. Like I think of like hiring a new technician. Here's the keys, here's your calls. Have a great day. Like uh,
Yeah.
that's 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 the thing that's going to get you in trouble because there's then what happens, and lots of businesses grow this way, right? The demand is there, they just hire somebody. So back to the restaurant, you think, oh well, I better hire I need somebody to help seat people, so I hire a host, but I don't train the host properly. I don't tell them what to do.
Yeah.
They're just left to just try to figure it out on their own. And then the host gets super busy. That maybe takes one thing off of my plate. So now all I have to do is take their orders and cook the food. But pretty soon, as more customers come in, I'm too busy to do everything there. So now I need somebody to help take the orders. So now I'm just busy cooking the food. Well, eventually, even cooking the food gets too busy.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think about that, like I'll
yeah,
just stop you for a minute right
yeah.
there because like, when I hear you saying that, what's happening too when we don't have clarity, when we don't understand the role,
You're possibly looking to pinpoint the gaps in your business so that you can finally break past the seven-figure mark. We have a free training below that you can check out. Until then, go make money. Boom.
right? And then the person that we just hired doesn't understand the role. While you're cooking and taking the orders, you have the hostess coming over to you saying, I ran into this problem. How do I do this? Why is this happening? What do I do here? Because you haven't delegated effectively. Like there was no clarity in the position of what, how, why all of this needs to be done. So now, right,
Yes.
you're doing all of your stuff, but you're like, why is this person asking me all these questions and calling me all the time? Right? It's something we hear often.
And it's something that as the business continues to grow, there's a need to continually build on to what those roles and responsibilities are. It's not just static. It's not always the same thing. Things change. The dynamic changes with the seasons, right? I mean, summer
Yeah.
comes and now our
Hmm.
call volume doubles. What do
Hmm.
you do? Like there's things that maybe you delegated initially that you weren't even aware of as being problems, but now all of a sudden they're problems. It's kind of like when you decide what you want in life. That's not a question you ask yourself one time.
Yeah.
You have to ask it multiple times because as you change, as life circumstances come up,
Yeah.
as
As the
as the
business
business grows, yeah,
different needs, right?
different needs,
Yeah.
different desires, different
Add a second
challenges and
host,
obstacles.
add a third host, and then how are we communicating amongst ourselves? Let's go into the next C, which is control.
I love this one because it's the most important one because we always think that it's just about giving up, oh, now I have a technician, I don't have to run calls anymore. Well, that's not the case. You have to have there's a control phase when it comes to delegation. That's the second C. We get clear about it. Now we have to control it. So what is it that we're actually controlling? Well, it's the process. Because if you got really crystal clear about the what, the why, and the how, you would have a process for that position. And a process, I love the definition of a process, it's a series of steps followed to achieve a particular end. So when you talk about a particular end, not just any end, not just like the maintenance is finished or the call is booked. No, no. What is the result from the booked call? What is the result from the end of the maintenance call or the service call or the installation? what's the end, the particular end that you want to achieve. So we have to make sure that we have the process, but we have to control that, right? That's where we're talking about control. Then we're talking about KPIs, management, the management of the KPIs, managing the inputs, like we like to say. I call it like lead and lag indicators. Like we don't always know, we might not know what the particular end is because clients can go this way or that way, but we know what gets the results the majority of the time, which is the lead indicators, which is our inputs. It's what we do on every call,
Mhm.
whether it's the CSR, what we do on every call, the technician, what we do on every call, because we know it has the most likelihood of achieving that end result that we want. So if we do those things and we continue to make adjustments, now you're talking scalability.
Like the systems and the processes and the KPIs are that control, and then someone is managing all of that, overseeing, making sure waste isn't happening in the company, right? Those are your managers. Typically, that's you. Even if you're a one-man show that hired one person, like you're managing the process.
Yeah, absolutely. And part of that management is having a clear understanding of what it is, what's the result that we want, but then how you're going to check in with the person that you've delegated this task to, what the required KPIs are, that result. So if you're not getting that result, then what we're going to do also if we're not getting the result.
Yeah.
Having that clarity with your
Mhm.
team so that they know that, hey, if I don't hit a $600 average ticket, then the next step is I'm going to be brought into the office. I'm going to be coached and trained to make sure that I'm willing and capable of actually doing and producing, and that I have the tools, right? That I have the necessary tools
Yeah.
to make that possible for me. So having even those guidelines laid out, making sure that people understand this is how this is going to be managed, incredibly important. And it's one of the only ways that you're going to actually get the results on a consistent basis to when it comes to delegating any portion of the daily activities that have to happen in a business.
One of the ways to identify, do I have clarity? Again, do I have control? Is basically I don't have like you don't have a lot of chaos, right? People are doing the same thing, right? Like each CSR is doing the same thing, each HVAC technician is doing the same thing, and we're producing a particular outcome. That's why it's like it feels overwhelming if you don't have these things set up, if you don't have systems and processes, if you haven't clearly defined the role, right? It feels like chaos because again, people are coming at me, the hostess, the cook, the person that seats the other person or whatever it is, the person that's taking the orders, they all have questions because again, it goes back to we don't have clarity, we haven't defined the role, and then no, like there's no control on this. So everyone feels chaotic in the team too. It feels like misalignment. We are not all aligned as a team because everybody's doing something different. No one got trained. Our roles are not clearly defined. The business owner is the one feeling the pressure the most from all of this.
And when you're a mid-sized company, when I say mid-sized, like you got at least 5 employees or more, it might be a little more difficult when you have 50 employees, but mid-sized companies like 5 to 25, I think it's important that each person understands the other roles in the company. They don't have to know the particular steps, but they
Yeah.
understand the role and they know why it's so important that the CSR books calls this way or that way, or just so that they can really get a grasp of what we're trying to do here. I think it's important, just like the CSRs knowing what it's like for the technicians out in the field. It's not something that has to be done all the time, but just let them go spend a day with each other. Let a technician sit in the office with a CSR for a day. Let the CSR go run a maintenance call with a tech.
Yeah.
Just so they know what it's like out there, so that everybody can understand why we're doing what we're doing and maybe understand the obstacles, the challenges, the opportunities that
Mm-hmm.
we're just trying to grasp as a company so that we can scale this baby up, because a rising tide raises all ships. We want everybody in the company to advance in their lives and in their careers.
Yeah, advance and be on the same page. Like
Yeah.
I've talked about this and shared this with students, but I love to, cross train and even the CSRs would play, would role play a service call, right? And we'd make it funny. They'd be like, "Give me your tool belt," and and they'd go knock on the door or whatever. We'd role play these things out, and it's like they can actually step into the mindset of what it's like to be an HVAC technician. They understand what's required, and then vice versa too as
Yeah,
well. So
absolutely. So
to
it
have an
so
aligned company is huge.
it is. So when it comes to this delegation that we're talking about and making sure that we do it effectively, if we just nail those first two, we nail
Mm,
the clarity, the what, the why, the how we're doing this particular role. Number two, we nail the control phase or the control plan, the second C, right? Clarity
hmm
controls, the second C, the KPIs, the management of those KPIs, watching the lead and the lag indicators. Then we get down to, and then like the planning, right? The organizing, the leading. Like the leading has to happen too in the control phase, which is whoever's the manager. Maybe it's you as the business owner, or you have a manager. Part of their
hmm
job is to motivate and direct and just guide the individuals towards the common objectives that we're trying to accomplish as a company, right? So if you do those things very effectively, the last thing can be really hard, but it's the third C that has to happen, and it's confidence.
hmm
Why don't you tell us what does that mean to you when it comes to confidence in your delegation, Coach?
Yeah. So I mean, just having trust of your team, right? Knowing that you have given them a framework in which to operate. You've clearly defined their role. Again, you have those things set up for them. You're supporting them too as well, so they also have confidence in you. You have confidence in them, they have confidence in you. Like when you get to that stage of confidence of like even your because if you don't know your role, like how can you even be confident in that role? Right? Like, how can I be confident as the business owner to know that person's going to go do their job and do it well and do it like a rock star, right? Party like a rock star in the company and actually succeed because that's my role as the business owner, or as the manager is to ensure that my people are succeeding. So when you do not define a role, right? We don't know what the outcomes are supposed to be. No one knows why they're doing what they're doing like nobody has confidence. And so when we know all those things, I have confidence and my employees have confidence that they know exactly what to do and how to operate and how we operate as a team.
Yeah, we talked about a little bit before we started recording this about some of the biggest mistakes that
Oh,
people have
hmm
when it comes to delegation, and one of those was doing it for them, right? Just, oh,
Mm,
here, let me just
yeah,
take care of this for
yeah,
you. Instead of allowing the person to go through a little bit of I don't know, the delay, right? The
hmm
delay of getting it done. That's how
Yeah.
people learn.
hmm
You're stopping your people from advancing their
Yeah,
skills when you constantly step in to save the day and just do it for them.
correct.
And then the other thing was like just always giving them the answers,
hmm
which is why the bottleneck is always at the top of the bottle. And if you're the CEO, you're often the bottleneck because you just have the answer for everything. And as long as you want to remain in that position, the person who holds all the keys and has all the answers, then
hmm
you're stifling the growth of the business. It will not grow. It can't grow.
No.
You don't have the confidence in your people to take care of things for your business.
Yeah. Super huge mistakes. Like doing it for them, giving them the answers, like really big mistakes. Like you're saying, you're always like you're always going to be the answer. And if you're always going to be the answer, like you're always going to be tied to the business. Again, you're the bottleneck. You're the reason why we're stuck here. And so undoing those habits, if that's something that you're doing right now in this area of delegation, if you're constantly just, well, let me just do it, right? Uh um a new installer's having a hard time or something like that, and you jump in your van and go save the day.
Possibly looking to pinpoint the gaps in your business so that you can finally break past the seven-figure mark. We have a free training below that you can check out. Until then, go make money. Boom.
Instead of coaching, because you can coach through it, like we've got FaceTime now, right? And or instead of asking them like, how would you figure this out? What would you do in this situation? Right? And giving them the opportunity to become a problem solver with you. Like people should learn to solve their own problems too, right? Because then again, you're left doing everything. So again, back to, I think the key word in this is effective delegation, effectively delegating.
Clarity, control, confidence. Use it. You just had like you've got all the answers now. If you want to go into depth and learn more, you can always join us in HVAC Millionaire University. We have some free training in the description below. Be sure to click on that.
Without effective delegation, you cannot scale your business. I think that covers it. We'll see you on the next one, y'all.
Sounds good. Go make money.